You heard it here first. Sick Boy Podcast hates cats. And if you are a cat lover, you better not be buying a ticket to our live show in Vancouver on September 21st.
Because we're anti-cat, and if you like cats, we're anti-you.
That's right. And if we find out you come to our fucking show and you're a cat lover and you have a cat, we're gonna out you, and we'll beat you up. We'll get the audience to beat you up. Right? So fucking stay at home, you fucking cat-loving fucks. We don't want nothing to do with you. Don't buy our fucking tickets. The link is in the show notes. Don't even fucking click it. Don't buy a ticket. If you like dogs, come on out. Bring your fucking dog. All right? Bring the dog. Sneak it in.
Don't do that either.
Fucking do it. Bring a dog.
The establishments are not dog-friendly.
They are dog-friendly now, and I'll tell you right now, you bring your fucking cat, we're gonna fucking skin it. Tickets are on sale, folks. Vancouver, Edmonton, both of those shows, tickets are up. They're on sale. The Edmonton show is happening September 19th. Cannot wait. We're going to be at 9910.
9910.
And then shortly after that, we're going to Vancouver, September 21st at the Biltmore. And just want to say this right now. We're locking in guests right now, and this is shaping up to be a pretty good little set of shows.
Yeah, she's shaping.
It's shaping up to be pretty good.
She's shaping.
So go get your tickets. They're on sale now. You can find the ticket link in the show notes of this episode, or you can just go to our Instagram and check out the link in our bio there. Let's get right down to it, folks.
Brass tacks.
Brass tacks. This is actually a very fun little article that I came across. Neuroscience research suggests LSD might enhance learning and memory by promoting brain plasticity.
Cool. Oh man, I've been watching. I watched a bit of the
How to Change Your Mind.
How to Change Your Mind series on Netflix.
Yeah.
And well, I watched the first episode about LSD. And I watched the second episode about psilocybin.
Yeah.
And just fantastic.
That headline to me sounds like pretty obvious. I feel like that's
but
like
that's because we're learned in this area.
I mean, I wouldn't say that this is pretty obvious to me. I mean, I understand the notion that or at least I've come to understand through conversations we have on this podcast, things that I've read, things that I've listened to, about things that did Donut just eat something? Yeah. Well,
someone's slide.
Brian's hoe slides.
Brian's hoe slide is destroyed.
Yeah. Well, that's a chew toy now.
So yeah, I've come
better than my AirPods.
I've come to understand that that there's like the rewiring of the neural pathways. When we like take something like psilocybin or LSD, but tying it directly to enhancing your like learning and memory, that's actually not something I would have figured, because I've done quite a bit of LSD, and not that I feel dumb on LSD, but it doesn't feel like you're learning while you're on it. You know what I mean? Like when you're on it, you're like, you're a 5-year-old. You're a 5-year-old
But it's
kid.
it's the effect that occurs afterwards.
Yes.
Like, the comparison I was just thinking of is, I mean, especially so I have a MacBook, and it's, I don't know, it's probably 3 years old now. And I mean, after a MacBook gets to be after a year, it's like,
it's a brick.
It's shitty after a year. and
throw it out.
and so it's 3 years old now. And so if I don't shut it down every so often, it just starts to slow down, and then it's harder to open up tabs, and it takes longer. And like,
what do you do? How much porn are you watching?
I just have 1,000 tabs open. and so anyway, I'll
all different Xtube sites to try to figure out which one has the highest res.
So then
this new like 3D virtual reality porn stuff that you're trying to run in your browser too. It's taxing.
It's like without a VR headset too, which is the strangest thing. Yeah. And so I'll restart my computer, and then all of a sudden it works perfectly again. And then it starts to slow down over time, and then it needs a reset. And I find that a psychedelic is a very similar type of experience, where I feel like it's a shutdown reset type of experience, where all of a sudden stuff starts to stuff starts to work better afterwards. You
Yeah.
start to think a bit more clearly, a bit more objectively.
Well, a little bit of like an anecdotal thing that I was thinking about after I came across this article was that I have like really poor like medium term memory and long term memory.
Mm-hmm.
Short term memory is pretty okay, but like 3 or 4 weeks out, I can't remember shit. Like if one of you guys died and the cops came to me and they're like, "Where were you the night of like July 12th, 2022?" I'd be like,
Oh my God, you have no idea.
I have no idea. I don't.
Can I look at my Google Calendar?
I didn't kill him. I didn't kill him. But when I do LSD, I remember pretty much everything within that 12-hour period for like years.
Well, because it's also a much more standout.
Yes,
Because you're having that experience for 12 hours, and the rest of your life you're getting
just
that.
coasting.
You're getting that all the time.
Yes, that's right.
That's your That's your regular.
So to this article, they said new research published in Experimental Neurology provides some initial evidence that the psychedelic substance known as LSD has nootropic properties. The study found that LSD increased markers of neuroplasticity in human brain organoids, increased novelty preference in rats, and improved memory performance in humans. When combined with psychotherapy, psychedelic drugs have shown promise in the treatment of psychiatric conditions such as depression, PTSD, and addiction. But the cellular and modular mechanisms involved in the therapeutic effects of psychedelics remain unclear. Some research has indicated that psychedelic substances produce positive impacts in part because they promote neurogenesis and neuroplasticity. The authors of the new study were interested in better understanding whether the neuroplasticity induced by psychedelics could be harnessed to enhance learning and memory.
Isn't that kind of like what happens, like thinking about this even before you started reading this article, isn't it kind of similar to the idea of why microdosing, either LSD or psilocybin, would be I know that I would think of it typically more to stimulate like creativity.
I mean,
but it is like the neural pathways, right, that are being those new neural pathways that are being formed.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, like, people microdose for a plethora of different reasons. A lot of people who like are like seasoned microdosing vets.
Let's just refer to them as MDs.
As psychonauts.
Psychonauts. That's
They
right.
typically most people will microdose for like mood, right? Creativity is another one. Like I microdosed LSD while I wrote my TED Talk. And I thought it was helpful, but also I was like, I don't know, maybe I'm just telling myself it's helpful.
Also placebo. Yeah, like placebo
there could be
would
some
make
placebo in there
a
for
positive
sure,
difference
right?
too.
But yeah, I mean this notion that like it will actually enhance learning and memory. That is quite interesting.
I mean, like it's something that I mean, I think that this is the most kind of like the most like mind-boggling thing about all of psychedelic research, especially as it comes out now, is and especially if you read Michael Pollan's book or you watch the series. Oh, Zaya just had a big doo-doo.
Oh, I heard it.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Actually,
I thought it was donut chewing something, and I went, no, that sounded like a.
Felt it on my lap. We're gonna have to take a brief pause.
For people who don't know, if you're just listening, Zaya is sitting on
my 5-month-old daughter sitting on my lap.
Taylor's lap.
And so is that the crazy part about how
fucking eat it.
there was like incredible research into the psychological benefits for lots of different reasons, but primarily like research into depression and anxiety and mental health disorders and stuff in the 50s and 60s, or in the 60s and 60s primarily, and then it got shut down, and we have a 30 to 40 year time frame where we just totally lose, or we're not making any progress in what these drugs could do for us. And in the meantime that we weren't discovering those things, it was just demonized and said that it was scrambling your brain. Like
Yeah.
it's such a
I was listening
it's
to
really sad.
a Tim Ferriss podcast that just came out the other day with a doctor that I hadn't heard of before, but maybe you guys are familiar with. I think his name is Andrew Weil. But he was like, he's quite prolific in like studying plant medicines, and he would be a really interesting guest to get on the show. But he was also talking about things like kava and tobacco and things like that, and it was a really interesting conversation.
Rape. He's probably talking about rape.
Is that the tobacco thing you're talking about?
Yeah, the it's like a snuff. It's a Peruvian snorting tobacco that has psychoactive and psychedelic properties
in the first
I did
episode
it. I did it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's awful.
In the first episode of
How to Change Your Mind, and blow it right up Michael Pollan's face. Yeah, that's what the guy did to me too.
Because he was describing it happens right at the very beginning of the episode. He's describing this psychedelic experience. Yeah. And then you realize he's talking about tobacco, and you're like, "Whoa!"
But it's not just tobacco. Like there are properties within this tobacco that are. It's oftentimes blended with like DMT kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
it's fucking. I did not enjoy it.
It was
Did you
interesting.
do it in the same time that you did the Iboga?
No. It was 5-MeO DMT. But when I started to come back to reality,
from like but what isn't it called something else? Like it's like. I don't know, like traditional name.
Bufo. Yeah. 5-MeO DMT, also known as Bufo. But when I was coming back to reality, the guy blew it up my nose.
Oh wow!
And then I started purging
tripping.
like crazy.
Whoa.
No, not tripping. I just started vomiting all my hatred out.
He had
It felt good, but it was awful.
There was this really interesting quote that came up in the conversation that really stuck with me. That was, he said, "There are no good or bad drugs. There are only good and bad relationships to drugs."
Yeah,
and he was
totally.
like, I mean that with all drugs. Like they all have their own unique properties and could be, if studied and applied in different specific ways, could have benefits. But because we as humans like have specific relationships, have these like create these relationships with the drugs, then that is what can cause harm in people's lives.
Here's a really interesting little tidbit from this article.
You got to change your baby diaper.
I do have to change her.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll come back.
We'll be right back.
Gotta change a shit diaper. Okay, we're back. Poopy poop is clean. So back to this article, really interesting little tidbit here. The researchers created brain organoids, brain-like structures grown from human-induced pluripotent stem cells, to investigate the effects of LSD at the cellular level. They found that LSD affected several processes, including DNA replication, neural path finding, and mTOR signaling. Not sure what that is. Quote,
me neither.
mTOR is I think it's a longevity gene. It's something that Peter Attia and what's his name? Sinclair.
Okay.
David Sinclair.
The proteomic data from human brain organoids suggests that LSD regulates multiple processes involved in neuroplasticity, the researchers said. Notably, we found significant LSD-induced changes in the mTOR pathway, a protein kinase involved in multiple neuroplasticity events, acting as a hub between plasticity, learning, and memory. To examine the effects of LSD on hippocampus-dependent memory processes, the researchers had 76 rats undergo a novel object preference task several days after receiving a dose of LSD, or an inert saline solution. Rats who had received LSD tended to spend more time exploring novel objects, but LSD did not appear to affect the overall time spent exploring objects in general. Quote, our results show that LSD pretreatment can substantially increase novelty preference in rats several days after dosing, with a significant single dose effect, the researchers said. The results imply that LSD-induced plasticity enhanced novelty seeking. So it sounds like you do LSD, you're going to be really like
interested in shit,
hankering to cheat on your wife, just like novel events. There's a gangbang happening down the street tomorrow. I don't know if I can go check that out.
I'm here for the gangbang.
Yeah. It goes on and on, but this is Another quote here: psychedelics have been demonized since the 1960s, and in the past decade, they have returned to biology and medicine through the front door. However, the utility of psychedelics is not restricted to the treatment of patients with a pathological condition. They can also be very useful to improve the cognition of healthy individuals, i.e., they should be seen as not just medicine, but also as a part of human life at large.
Oh wow, that's
I really
interesting.
like that quote.
See,
That's from,
I would
named
like
Robar.
to. I'd be curious to microdose and see if there's any to see if there's any cognitive benefit. Like, because something like I was telling you that earlier today. Like caffeine for me is not. It's not something that like keeps me awake. At least if I were to like have a cup of coffee, in the evening or at night, doesn't keep me up. Doesn't have that effect on me. But if I drink a significant amount of coffee, it's I can tell it's definitely a stimulant.
Yeah.
And I find that if I have 2 cups of drip coffee, I'm fucking rip roaring through work. Like I'm spreadsheets. Like there's calculus floating in front of my eyes. I'm like Matt Damon in Good Will Hunting. As soon as I have 2 cups of coffee. So I'd like to see if there's any cognitive benefit to microdosing.
Do you guys think that there will be a new commercial campaign in the not so distant future that is say yes to drugs?
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds maybe a little bit irresponsible, but
Dude, yeah, dude.
but I
because that's what I'm afraid of. If we legalize drugs, people can just start marketing it in any way they want.
Yeah, I mean, well,
so we should.
I mean,
we should criminalize all drugs.
Well, yeah.
Well,
I know you're trying to be funny there, and it wasn't. You don't hit home runs every single time, but you do have a point. Like the legalization of drugs, although sounds awesome and probably would be a really great thing, it definitely has to be done extraordinarily carefully, and like they're like with like very very dedicated work to like ensure that it doesn't blow up in our faces, because it's that's a big deal to like even the idea to like make to see us at a point where I can go down to the liquor store right now and buy like fucking like 20 packs of THC gummies. If we come to a point where you can go to a dispensary,
you're actually only allowed to buy a certain quantity.
No, you can buy a fuckload, because I went in the other day and I said, "Hey, I'm here to just buy 10 milligram gummies. How many can I buy?" And the guy goes,
"Oh, really?"
Oh, he was like, "I guarantee you're not going to buy as many. You're not going to buy as many. That would be the limit."
That's so interesting.
You buy boxes of them,
because if you buy waters, you can only buy a few waters.
It's like a weird weight thing. It's not like just based on
it's not just THC.
No, what do you mean though that it has
like a weight
that decriminalizing everything would have to be done carefully? Like what sort of risks do you think would be associated with decriminalizing everything right away? Just like if tomorrow the government was like, okay, all drugs totally decriminalized.
Well, less so decriminalized, but more so like accessible, like
commercially accessible.
Like commercially accessible.
Mm. Yeah,
because there's a swath of the population that should be really careful around psychedelics.
Yeah, totally.
People who are predisposed to things like mental illness, schizophrenia, those types of things, and they don't know. Like it, I'm a massive advocate for psychedelics. I totally agree with that statement that it shouldn't just be looked at as medicine. It should be looked at as like a human life evolving, positive thing. But
what do you think?
I don't think that's like a statement for every single human. Like
what do you think is, because that's very true that there is a portion of the population that has a predisposition for like severe mental health issues like schizophrenia, that where psychedelics can I don't think it's giving somebody schizophrenia, but it's probably it's speeding up the process.
Yeah, well, it's like
of what's going to happen.
My friend Emily, Emily was on the show years ago. She was one of the earliest guests we ever had. She had a bout of psychosis. Like she can't do mushrooms. Like,
Right.
if I'm like, hey, I'm going to go do psilocybin on the weekend. Do you want to come? She's like, I'll come, but I can't do that because
So what is
that could fucking destroy me.
So
That's
what
like
is the,
THC does that for some people too.
Yeah, and
Totally.
she can't smoke weed. Like she just
Right.
can't do it.
So for THC, for LSD, for psilocybin, all things that in the future, I have no doubt will be legalized and maybe, I don't know if commercially accessible in the same way that THC is, but at least legal and accessible medicinally in the same way that like opioids are, which that's not inaccessible to anybody. So what do you think is the best way to go about educating? And is it just that? Is it just education?
It's education.
On going, hey, if this is something that could have these benefits, but also, if you have a family history of XYZ, then, you should be careful around these types of things.
I'm not sure. I'm curious as to how much we know about that. Like if you have a history, like is there a correlation between if you have a history of,
Yes.
of mental health?
It's like well
mental illness?
documented, well known. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't read much about that.
Yeah.
Anyway, like the thing is that I feel like the only thing we can do is educate people because, I mean, the way that I look at it, and maybe this is an oversimplification of the situation, is that criminalizing drugs has a set of negative consequences. Decriminalizing has a set of negative consequences. The criminalizing it, from my perspective,
Probably has more negative consequences than the other side. Yeah.
I think so. I think it's like,
I agree.
what's the conversation we were having the other day that this episode hasn't come out yet, but about specificity and
sensitivity.
And sensitivity. It's like it's like you're trying to create the situation that is going to be specific enough that allows people to like, make their own decisions and eliminates the risk of like of the negative consequences happening, but also you don't want to cast that net so high that you're actually negatively affecting people, who are going to like with when marijuana here was criminalized, like people going to jail for having, a couple grams on them or whatever back in the day. So I think it just has to be education. I think that's the only thing that we can do is educate people and hope that they make the right decisions and know that we can't protect everybody.
And do we think that it's and I don't know the answer to this, but is it worse with psychedelics, psilocybin, LSD than with THC, or is there a higher prevalence, or are you more like if somebody is predisposed to severe mental health issues, is it a worse outcome with psychedelics than it is with THC? And if it's the same, if it is the same, which I don't know if it is or not, have we, what are the statistics on since weed's been legal? Like, have we seen more like THC induced psychotic episodes?
Yeah.
And I'd be really curious to know the answer to that, because we might already have the answer to this question that we're talking about reflected in how things went down after weed was legalized.
The other thing is will we even know, because it might seem like there is so say LSD was decriminalized tomorrow and or legalized and people were able to start taking it recreationally. I would assume that we would see an uptick in like hospital admissions for people who, feel like they're either about to die because they took too much,
like we know people who that's happened to with LS or with THC.
Right. And so, but they might be more comfortable calling and asking for help because it's not illegal. Right.
Yeah.
And so do we want a situation where people feel like they can get help in situations that they need it in, or do we want to make them feel like they're so bad that if they think they're going to die, that they shouldn't call for help?
I don't know if somebody who's tripping out that way can even really process that. Can even process that.
No, but don't you think that there are people who have been high at times who are like, I can't call and ask for help because I did something illegal? It's like
I'm sure it happens.
Yeah, I suppose.
I mean, this is and to bring it back to, I guess, a more real situation. When we were talking to the lady from Mom Stop the Harm, what was her name?
I'm drawing a mind blank right
Yeah. So when like talking about like bystanders who don't want to call when their friend is overdosing because they're afraid that they're going to get in trouble, and the importance of being able to like have them feel
Mhm.
sort of empowered in those situations to call and ask for help because they're not afraid of being arrested.
Yeah, I mean, you're preaching to the choir here.
Yeah.
Like, I think all around it should be that drugs should be. I mean, for even just eliminating or not eliminating, because you're not going to eliminate, but at least substantially downsizing the black market supply
Yep.
of drugs that could have whatever going on with them. I mean, just for that reason, they
Mhm.
should be decriminalized and legalized, I think, so that there can be a regulated supply.
Yeah.
I just don't think that like I feel like people who are against decriminalizing drugs are like live in this world where if that happens, a bunch of people will just start doing drugs. Like everybody's all of a sudden going to just
Yeah.
start doing it because it's legal.
But that's
But
just
I just don't think that is the case. Like, sure, I'm sure there are people who would probably feel more comfortable experimenting knowing that that's the case.
People
but
are already doing drugs.
right.
People are fucking doing
That's my
so
point.
many drugs already.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
That's my point.
everyone you know does drugs. Like we all fucking do drugs.
Yeah.
There's so many people do drugs. So little people don't do drugs. So little people don't do drugs. So many people do drugs. We're all doing it. So it's like, to those people, go fuck yourself. All right.
There's
moving
actually
on.
probably less people will do drugs if they're legal because then they won't be as fun.
Yeah, totally. Here's a fucking crazy story. This is coming out of the New York Times. The body collector of Spain. When migrants die at sea, he gets them home. This is fucking. I had no idea about this.
Isn't this fucking nuts?
This is really nuts.
I reached out to
and very sad.
I reached out to this guy to try and get him on the show.
Yeah, Martin.
But he's too busy collecting
bodies. Yeah,
Could
Martin
be.
Zamora, the owner of a funeral parlor near Gibraltar, has found an unusual line of business among the relatives of those who drowned trying to reach Europe. No one knew the man's name when he washed ashore. His body had floated in the ocean for weeks, and it then sat much of the summer unidentified in a refrigerator in a Spanish morgue. He was one among thousands lost at sea during what has been a record year for migrant drownings in Spain. And he might have been sent with the other unclaimed dead to a unmarked grave if Martin Zamora had not figured out that body had a name and a life. He was Akraf Amir. He was 27, a mechanic from Tangier. He had been missing for weeks when Mr. Zamora reached his family by WhatsApp. He had found their son's body. He could bring it to them in Morocco for a price. Quote, "Sometimes I get the feeling that some years ahead, in 30, 40, 50 years, I don't know how many, they will look at us like monsters," he said. Quote, "They will see us all as monsters because we just let people die this way." Mr. Zamora is a 61-year-old father of 7, and he's the owner of the Southern Funeral Assistance mortuary in Algeciras. Algeciras. Algeciras.
No, it's
Algeciras.
that's not what it is.
Algeciras.
It's fuck, I can't remember the name.
Doesn't matter. But in this port city where the lights of Morocco can be seen across the Mediterranean, he has become more than that. Mr. Zamora is the body collector of those who don't make it to Spain alive. Mr. Zamora, who says he has repatriated more than 800 bodies in 2 decades, has forged a business model like few others. He wrestles with municipal officials to hand over bodies so he can embalm them. He works with smugglers to find the relatives of dead and has made scores of trips to Africa. His last to Morocco came the month before the pandemic. For families who had given up their loved ones as missing, Mr. Zamora's work can offer a kind of closure that they had lost all hope for. But his services come at a steep cost. He charges $3,500 or more to get a body home. No Spanish agency will pay for what he does, and the profit margins of the work are very low, he says. And so it leaves him in the gray zone, not uncommon in border towns like this, between the will to do good and the need to make a living. During the first 6 months of the year, 2,087 people died or went missing trying to make it to the country's shores, including 341 women and 91 children, according to the Caminando Fronteras, a non-governmental group that tracks the deaths. The International Organization for Migration, a United Nations body that keeps a more conservative count, has recorded more than 1,300 deaths so far this year.
It's the thing that like kind of stuck out to me about this story. I mean, was the part of the story that they talk about in the article, which is how it started and how he found there was a body that washed up on shore, and the body was delivered to his mortuary, and he was going through the clothing, and found a note.
Yeah, his first clue came in 1999 when he found a note inside the clothes of a dead Moroccan man. Back then, the government was outsourcing to funeral homes the job of burying unclaimed remains in a field alongside a local cemetery.
So he contacts the name. He makes contact with the person that was on the note, and it's I believe it was the brother of the person who died,
brother-in-law of the young man who had drowned. Yeah,
and then he basically was like, "I want to get this body back, and I will do it." He said, "I will do this for half price if you help me identify and make contact with the families of more of the dead." And so it starts this.
It was like an MLM.
Yeah, right. And then all of a sudden he was like, he wasn't doing anything, and it was just a bunch of people that were identifying bodies.
Yeah, and he was like, if you can help me identify, then you can keep 10% of the next.
Right. But the thing that really stood out to me was the part about the money, because it's like, you can't just do, this guy's,
he wouldn't be able to do it.
This guy's not a wealthy person.
Yeah.
And he's doing something. He's doing this thing that he needs to be paid for to be able to do it. It's a noble cause. Like he's trying to give closure to families that might have said goodbye to somebody.
Yeah.
And knew that they would never see them again, dead or alive.
Mm-hmm.
Because they lived in, off the grid villages across northern Africa that they don't have electricity, they don't have devices to talk to people, that they had said goodbye to that family member, and they just thought in their mind, I don't know, I might never see this person again, and never know if they lived or died or made the journey or anything.
Yeah.
And he's there, he's trying to give these families closure. And
one of the wild parts here is when he sees these bodies, the body is the mystery. The clothes are often the only clues that he has to try to track down who this person was. He said, quote, "It can be hard to identify someone's face," Mr. Zamora said, "but a shoe, a jersey, a t-shirt, suddenly a family member will recognize it because it was once a gift."
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, it is quite wild to think that this guy is doing something, that line at the beginning there that, it leaves him in this gray zone, which is not uncommon in border towns like this, between the will to do good and the need to make a living. Because there's no way he'd be able to do it for free.
Yeah.
But
I found this, I heard this, actually, this story really jumped out at me when I was doing a bike ride the other day, and I was listening to an episode of The Daily. And in The Daily or in any New York Times podcast, they stop and they're like, "Hey, New York Times subscribers are how we tell these stories and stuff." And they always use an example of a story that they're like, because of New York Times subscribers, we were able to tell this story of blah, blah, blah. And they just said that. And I was like, holy shit, that's a crazy story. And
you were like, I've got a subscription to the New York Times.
I do. I made this possible. And so I just pulled over on the side of the road and was like, just made a note of him. Was like, I got to talk about this shit because this thing's crazy.
Another crazy thing that we should talk about. So recently we did an episode about it was lipedema.
Yes.
And in that conversation that we had, we talked about one of the women here in Atlantic, Canada, who had gone to Japan for a procedure
Mhm.
to help with what she was struggling with. So CBC had just put this article out. Nova Scotia mom says she owes $80,000 after paying for a surgery,
Oh no.
but says, at least I can play with my kids.
Huh.
Jennifer Brady made her final plea to the Nova Scotia Health Minister. Brady's letter to Michelle Thompson in June came 19 months after her condition put her in the hospital with a potentially fatal blood infection. It came 14 months after a Montreal lymphedema specialist examined her and said she needed surgery. The surgery she needed isn't available in Atlantic Canada, and the handful of surgeons able to do it in the country, including the one she saw in Montreal, are booked with their own patients for at least 2 years. So Brady found a clinic in Japan willing to do the job, but the Nova Scotia government refused to cover the cost. The minister was her last option. Thompson has the authority to override the department's decision and have the province cover the cost of an out-of-province surgery. Brady made an impassioned appeal to Thompson. The single mother of two is still waiting for a reply. The procedure is already done and cost Brady $80,000. She scraped up the money by getting a loan against her house. She'd become so debilitated by her condition that she could no longer wait for the province to decide whether to cover the procedure. The procedure, lymphovenous anastomosis, is done all over the world. It connects damaged lymph vessels to a nearby vein. A healthy lymphatic system recycles whatever leaks out of the veins, arteries, and capillaries.
Okay, you just mentioned that this surgery is done all over the world.
Yeah.
So my question for you guys is, and I hope that this doesn't come across as insensitive because I don't mean for
Japan's very far away.
It's like
compared to here. Yeah, it's like the furthest you could go.
So I feel like
Yeah.
if she's writing a letter to Michelle Thompson has to go to her house. If she goes in her house and she's got anime posters all over the wall and she's like, and it's just like photos of Japan and like those like Lonely Planet travel guides to Japan. And she's like, clearly just wants like
Squishmallows everywhere.
You know, and you know, she doesn't have any way to prove that like
so much mochi in the freezer.
so on to this point though, I mean, $80,000, it doesn't cost that much for a flight to Japan. So like,
well, I mean, it was
so like
all
if
the
you're gonna
surgery.
if you're gonna cover the cost of the surgery, but you feel weird about it being in Japan, then maybe like let's figure out how much her flights were, and then maybe maybe that's up for debate. But the surgery itself, I think it should be covered.
Oh, I mean, if it's the same surgery, I mean, especially if you're evaluating the circumstance and you're going, okay, this is the same surgery that we would have done here, but there was too long of a wait, and she almost had a fatal infection because of the condition that she's trying to remedy with the surgery. Then, I mean,
it seems like a no-brainer.
It seems like a no-brainer. I mean, there's only a small sliver of me that is like, that is going, oh, well, maybe we don't have all the information, but I mean, the lion's share of my heart is going, fucking pay this woman's
Dude,
bill.
we read like 3 paragraphs. We have all the information for sure.
I mean,
except for the fact that we haven't been to her house to check to see if she has a sumo wrestler ring in her living room.
She's not just lobbying for people with lymphedema here. She says the policy needs to be broad enough to ensure anyone can get access to medically necessary care. If they can't be treated in Nova Scotia, then the province needs to pay to have it done elsewhere, Brady argues. Her year-long battle highlights the lack of options for people suffering with lymphedema in this province. The treatment that is available in Nova Scotia is minimal and serves only to manage the symptoms of the illness. It includes costly garments and specialized massage therapy that helps to manage fluid buildup. For Brady, the cost is several thousands of dollars a year. Now she is $80,000 in debt. Nova Scotia's Health Services and Insurance Act says out-of-province procedures won't be covered after the fact. But Brady argues the province never provided a realistic chance for her surgery to be approved. The act states that in order to qualify for an out-of-province procedure, a referral must come from a Nova Scotia specialist. But there are no doctors that specialize in lymphedema here, so she went to Montreal.
Right.
Nova Scotia would not accept that doctor's recommendation for the procedure.
Huh.
So,
I mean, this is just a fucking classic healthcare system breakdown.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
That's crazy that it requires a specialist in province to make the recommendation, but or at least won't consider the recommendation of that specialist.
If I had to guess of why that exists, I would probably say it's so that somebody who operates outside of your province doesn't, because I do get the sense that doctors who are here feel like they've got skin in the game in terms of the healthcare system and like how much it gets taxed and stuff. Like I get that sense. So I feel like that it might exist so that a doctor who doesn't have,
do you think doctors
skin in
really
the
think that
game
way
for-
though? Like I hear what you're saying, but do you think that they really think about that at all?
I think they think about how much they are taxing the system.
Yeah,
Totally.
Okay, I could see that too. But like
I know they are, because the more that they tax the system in their eyes unnecessarily, if that's how they're thinking of it, then the less well everybody gets taken care of. So doctors are definitely mindful to only do what they think is necessary.
I could also see it from the perspective that oh fuck, I forgot what I was gonna say.
It's because my point was so.
You need to do more LSD, Brian.
I do actually.
Hey,
I want to think of that. I want to think of it.
Have you guys ever heard of GOALBALL?
Yeah, actually,
Is it,
it's like
GOALBALL.
It's like handball, right?
Kinda.
I
GOALBALL.
played Gaga Ball the other day at a playground.
Don't ever say that again.
Oh, I was gonna. The point I was gonna make. I just want to. I came back, so I
Great.
don't do enough drugs.
We
but
moved on, but go on into it because I'm sure it's great.
It's an important point. So I think. Do you think that it has anything to do with the fact that healthcare is provincially regulated? So the like jurisdictions that people would, specialists or professionals would fall under, would have certain rules of things of how they should operate, like best practices and things like that. So if you were allowed to go and see a specialist that, you know, functioned outside of your system. So for example,
I can see that from country to country, but
the
not
Nova
from
Scotia,
province to province.
I could see it province to province from the real estate perspective. So the Nova Scotia Real Estate Association, which real estate in Canada is provincially regulated. When I worked in real estate, the Nova Scotia system was seen to be the most protective of the consumer. So there was a lot of like paperwork and things that you had to do that you wouldn't have to do elsewhere in the country. And so therefore, if Nova Scotia was to, you know, offer to pay an insurance claim for somebody who was like wrongly done in a real estate transaction, but there was nobody who could like validate that transaction from like a, you know, say there was no structural engineers in Nova Scotia, but there was one that could give an opinion from out of province, they might be concerned that that engineer's opinion might be more lenient based on like the looser sort of rules and regulations that are from that different jurisdiction. And because you can't control that because you have no jurisdiction there, maybe they're concerned that like a specialist operating outside of the system might be more likely to prescribe a more expensive treatment. And so, yeah, they would be not willing to pay for that.
Now, do you want to make do you want to like somehow link this to like finance?
No.
While we're at it here?
No, I'm okay.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
But do you
I'm
think
good.
do you think, whatever, Jerry, you know, Taylor, do you think that's an interesting perspective?
I do. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a valid point. Definitely could be.
It's a valid point. It is a valid point. It's boring as fuck, but a valid point.
Yeah.
A valid point indeed, but boring as shit.
If you do more drugs, though, you might be more inclined to learn from this experience, and you might
fucking
think it's
boring.
more interesting.
Kind
You want to talk about your handball stuff.
trying to move it along to get to something interesting because this is boring the shit out of me. Goalball, okay? Goalball is a team sport designed specifically for athletes with vision impairment.
Oh, this is basically not the opposite of dodgeball.
It
is.
It's sort of. It's dodgeball without eyes and a net.
But you're not trying to dodge it. You're trying to block it, aren't you?
You are trying. Yeah. You're trying to get in the way of the ball.
So it's-
but you can't see anything.
Right. So it's non-dodgeball.
It's specifically non-dodgeball for people who are visually impaired.
Get in the way ball.
Get in the way ball is another name for it. Participants compete in teams of 3, and they try to throw a ball that has bells embedded into it into the opponent's goal. So they have giant nets. They're 9 meters wide by 1.5 meters tall. Here's a little intro here. Go ball.
Goalball is a team sport created specifically for athletes that are blind or partially sighted.
It looks fun
The
as
goalball
shit.
court is 18 meters long and 9 meters wide, with goal lines at each end and a center line dividing the surface.
So this is come to us from Stina. She put this in our Discord. Thank you, Stina. I want to play this, and apparently people who are able to see can play it, but you have to wear. Everybody has to wear these blinders. So you wear like sleep masks essentially. Here's a video of some players doing it.
With only 3 players, 2 wingers, and a centre allowed on the court at any time. The ball is thrown underhand.
So that's spin throw?
Motion. Once thrown, it must bounce or roll in your landing area, and again in the opposing team's landing area.
I mean,
and
they're showing a lot of goals. I wonder like how high the score gets.
I know. I'm
in
like,
this game.
yeah, there we go.
There we go. There's a save.
Players can pass the ball to teammates, but the ball must be thrown across the center line within 10 seconds of gaining possession.
I wonder how much you can bounce it.
So it's the ball itself is actually quite heavy. And
it's like a medicine ball.
It's like a medicine ball, and it's got bells ringing in it. So like, I guess you're supposed to hear it jingling towards you.
Yeah, totally.
It's
I mean, that makes sense.
The ball is thrown by hand, it's never kicked, using ear-hand coordination, originating as a rehabilitation exercise. The sport has no able-bodied equivalent. Able-bodied athletes are also blindfolded when playing the sport. Played indoors, usually on a volleyball court. Games consist of 12-minute halves, formerly 10-minute halves. They just couldn't get enough. With a 3-minute halftime. Where there is a tie, golden goal, overtime, occurs in the form of 2 3-minute periods. Are there any? I want to play it. Like, I want like. Is there goal ball going on in Nova Scotia?
The only thing is, it would be so annoying if you were actually fully blind and you were playing with somebody who wasn't, and they were just blindfolded, and you just felt like they were peeking the entire time. Wouldn't that be fucking annoying?
Yeah, because like when you put a sleep mask on, all you gotta do is this.
Yeah,
right,
I know, right?
Right.
Look up and look down your nose.
Right, you'd peek.
Yeah, I would definitely peek. Would you?
Yeah, probably.
I would.
Did you guys ever?
You fucks.
Did you guys ever play?
You guys are fucking cheaters.
Like when you play 7-Up.
You guys are cheaters and liars.
Heads up, 7-Up. I always looked.
Yeah, dude. There was the easiest way. How did you peek?
Oh, I just fucking slid myself down the desk.
Yeah. What would you look at though?
At shoes.
Yeah, shoes. Those are the giveaways.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially when people were wearing those big fucking clunky DC shoes back in the day.
I had a pair of those.
Like globe shoes, like those big.
And you know what's funny is that I always remember thinking to myself, how can nobody tell that I'm looking?
Yeah.
I can't believe you fucking cheaters. This is blowing my fucking mind right now.
You know the only thing that matters
I'm so sad.
is winning.
Winning the right way. All right. Speaking of
what a loser.
My coach used to say, if you're not cheating, you're not trying hard enough.
Wow.
Your coach used to say that.
That's a wonderful insight.
Must be nice to be that guy's wife. All right, moving on.
They did get divorced. That's not funny.
Monkeypox.
That was funny.
Monkeypox. The World Health Organization is looking for a new name for monkeypox. Monkeypox. The name monkeypox is a bit problematic for a number of reasons, and so
what are the reasons? I haven't heard that.
It's there's issues with the name for like a few different reasons. It sort of like ties the name to like African countries, and they're trying to change the way that we like relate to viruses depending on like the location of where they come from, and have something that's a little bit more generic. There's like ethnic groups that don't really vibe with the name monkeypox. There's like a race issue. It's a bunch of shit. So they're trying to find a new name. And one of the names that is not out of bounds, it is on the sheet that you can vote for, is Poxy McPoxface. and I love it. I love it. Just like Bodie McBoatface, which was almost what we were going to rename the ferry here in Halifax. But
Bodie McBoatface?
Bodie McBoatface was one of the options that they had put on there.
To rename who?
The ferry.
Oh, the fair. Oh, right.
like the Dartmouth Ferry.
It was also almost the street name for here was almost Streety McStreetface.
That's right, Streety McStreetface
that's right.
on our street here that we are currently recording.
Do you
at.
know if they renamed our street?
Not yet. While the names of the diseases are sometimes chosen by experts, the WHO, the band, has decided to open up the process this time to the public, having welcomed submissions from a number of contributors via its maintenance platform, which provides various ways to contribute. These include Poxy McPoxface, which Reuters reported was submitted by Andrew Yee in an allusion to Bodie McBoatface, which, as you may remember, was almost the name of a British polar research vessel, which was also named via public vote, which is then what it translated down to the Dartmouth Ferry almost. So
is that where that came from? I didn't realize
it did. Yeah, it was like international news about that they were going to change it to that British ship. And then,
so if they're changing monkeypox, are they changing like chickenpox and like because there's like a ton of different animal
and they're trying to
pox.
They're basically trying to like move away from that, like move away from the like those types of names. And I think Poxy McPoxface, like that's better.
Guys, we should just
That's a
go
better
with
name.
It's definitely more. I mean, fucking dude, it's pretty glizzed.
I mean, it would
It's
be
pretty glizzed up.
If you had monkeypox, you would be a Poxy McPoxface.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. It's pretty fire.
Honestly, everything should just be named like stars are named, like B1N X4.
Well, I mean, that's.
3.
I mean,
that's
that
what they
is-
started doing with the variants.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I mean, especially in real, like I mean, it's harder. I guess it's a bit more of a reach for my mind. Like I have to think about it more with something like monkeypox because it's been around for so long and it's been monkeypox for a really long time. So it's like it's harder to think about it. But it was very easy to see that same line of thinking for COVID variants, where a new variant was emerging from wherever. And it was like, and now like, all of a sudden the whole fucking, because the whole world was on fire, everybody was like, fuck that place.
So the African variant, get him.
Yeah, okay, yeah, get
Like
him.
we just found it,
Yeah,
guys.
we found it.
It's
We discovered
everywhere.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think with monkeypox too, there's like race is a big thing. I think it's like there's a lot of like issues with specifically like blacks and like it. I mean, I know that like I read somewhere that like in all of the medical literature, it's always like a black person. Like the image is a black person's body covered in monkeypox, and like the term monkey is like not a very kosher sort of term for like which was like
Racially derogatory,
used
yeah.
derogatorily for fucking years.
But it is named monkeypox because it was derivative. It's a derivative of it comes from a monkey, right? I mean, I'm not.
I think
making
so.
that
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. In a statement Friday, the UN Health Agency said it has also renamed two families or clades of the virus using Roman numerals instead of geographic areas to avoid stigmatization. The version of the disease formerly known as the Congo Basin will now be known as clade or clade 1, and the West Africa clade will be known as clade 2. So like they were like specifying versions of monkeypox to locations. So they're trying to stop that.
Mm-hmm.
The WHO said the decision was made following a meeting of scientists this week and in line with current best practices for naming diseases, which aims to avoid causing offense to any cultural, social, national, regional, professional, or ethnic group and minimize any negative impact on trade, travel, tourism, or animal welfare. So I think the other thing too is like, protecting monkeys, maybe, like not
Their feelings.
de-vilifying monkeys. Numerous other diseases, including Japanese encephalitis, Marburg virus, Spanish influenza, and Middle Eastern respiratory syndrome. That's such a fucking ridiculous name. Middle Eastern respiratory syndrome.
MERS.
You got the Middle Eastern sneeze.
Yeah.
Has been named after geographic areas where they first arose or were identified. Who has not publicly suggested changing any of those names, but I'm sure the day will come.
I'm sure it will.
All right, here we go. You ready for what the health?
Always.
A hero cat saves owner's life by pounding on her chest mid heart attack.
No.
Brian, this cat
That's my
is you.
Dude,
Yeah.
you know what that cat was actually
my
doing?
reincarnate.
That cat was actually trying to play the drums on their chest to alert all their cat friends that they could come and eat this soon-to-be ready meat. Because
awesome.
that's
Well,
what cats do.
Let's see here. Cats may have 9 lives, but humans sure as hell don't, which is precisely why Nottingham woman Sam Felstead is grateful for her feisty little feline. The 42-year-old was woken up by her cat Billy in the wee hours of the morning by her usually standoffish pet pounding her chest with his paws. She then realized the early wake-up call was not because her cat was after a feed or attention, but because something was seriously wrong. She was unable to move her body and had shooting pains down her side. Sam dialed 999, which is the equivalent of 911 if you're living in London, and was told an ambulance would be a 2-hour wait. So instead, she was rushed to the hospital by her mum.
Sounds like here.
Scans showed that one of her arteries was blocked, and doctors confirmed she had suffered a heart attack in her sleep. The 42-year-old spent 3 days in the hospital before being discharged and was reunited with her beloved British short hair, who she now credits for saving her life.
Yeah, this is what they were actually. She was actually going. The cat was like going.
Just batting her. Yeah.
Hear the war call. Hear the war call.
Come eat her
meat,
eyes
fresh
with me.
meat, fresh
Yeah.
meat is soon to be served.
She said, Billy was on my chest and was meowing loudly in my ear hole. Who says ear hole? He was really meowing. He's not a lap cat. He's not a light cat either. He's certainly not a cat that wants to be on your knee all the time. He likes to be alone. The Staple Ford woman revealed that doctors told her she was lucky she got to the hospital when she did. She said, I'm glad he woke me up. Who knows if I would have got up without him? It could have been worse for me, she said, adding that her alarm would not have gone off for another couple of hours.
Whoa.
I do think he saved my life, and so does everybody else around me, she said. Now, here's an interesting thing. I know what you're thinking. It's like, well, it's just a coincidence your fucking cat woke you up right when you were having a heart attack.
That's
But
exactly what I was thinking.
but I will say this. I will say this. Rose, Bridie's cat, or Bridie's dog, when Bigby had tumors in his head, she was sniffing his head incessantly. And I was like, and this was long before we knew he had tumors. And I said one day, I bet you she's smelling tumors. And she was. Dogs can sniff out COVID.
Some
Another
dogs,
thing.
some dogs can sniff tumors, though,
And
too,
some
like
dogs can
they-
sniff tumors as well. Another thing that I just recently was having a conversation with my girlfriend and her mother, both nurses. There was one of them were working in like a care facility for elderly, and there was a cat in there, like a sort of like I don't know what you call it, like a therapy cat or whatever, and the cat would go like in the middle of the night, go and sit at the base of the bed
of the next person that would die.
of the next person that would die.
No,
Yes.
fuck off.
Yeah,
No.
That's
yes,
nuts.
yes, and no, dead serious, and so.
Is that a bad omen though? Like where people are afraid of
Well,
it?
yeah, I don't know if it's an omen. I think it's more so like the cat must like have a sense that like, oh, this person's about to croak, and so like I'm gonna go like I don't know if I'm fucking anthropomorphizing here, but like maybe I'm gonna go sit with this person as they die. Like they're
And
like
wait
little.
to eat them.
Yeah, I mean it's either that. I prefer to think that they're like they're doing like compassionate end of life care in their own little ways, but maybe they are going. You smell like you're about to croak. I'm gonna eat your
It's
asshole
funny
first.
because Jerry, you've had cats, and I've also had cats, and
They fucking
like
suck, dude. Cats suck.
I actually
fucking said it, world.
I
Cats
actually-
suck.
Hey, I'm not a cat person. I'm a dog person. I don't have a cat. I have a dog. But like, man, cats can be okay. They're just not. They just don't give you the love. They just.
What the fuck do you want a cat for?
Yeah, that's
What is a
it's
cat doing for you?
It's a good question. It's a
you
fair
know,
question.
like
to ask.
when you come home, they don't give a shit. When you want to play, they might give you a little bit of playtime for like a minute, but they're not playing with you. They're playing with a laser pointer. They're playing with a fucking feather. They're not playing with you. The dog's like, I'm playing with you. I'm playing with my daddy. A cat is like, like, do you have something that resembles a rat? I'll play with that, but I'm not playing with you, fuckhead. You know, fuck cats, dude. Fuck cats. And they
Dude,
also
tell us how you feel.
and you know what? Here's another thing. Fucking, I think it was Poland. They just announced cats. I was gonna put this in the show, but I was like, this has nothing to do with the show. But they just announced that cats are an alien invasive species.
No,
They did. All right, fuck it, guys. We got 5 more minutes. I'm bringing this up. Alien species cat. This is it, dude.
Brian, can you keep an eye on my daughter over there?
Yeah, I got her.
A scientific institute has classified pet cats as invasive alien species, and cat lovers are not happy. I'm sure they aren't fucking cucks. A Polish scientific institute has categorized domestic cats as an invasive alien species. The Polish Academy of Sciences has defined the house cat, Felis catus, as alien, as it was domesticated in the Middle East, and has deemed cats as invasive due to the negative influence of domestic cats on native biodiversity. They explain in a statement. The Academy has a long list of animals they deem as an invasive alien species, including the Japanese knotweed, raccoons, clearwing moths, and mandarin ducks.
Well,
it does sound like they're just going, yo, if you ain't from here, we don't like you. So Poland, I don't know. You guys sound a little fucking problematic here. They state that such species pose, quote, an unpredictable risk to local wildlife, which is fucking true, citing a study showing that cats in Poland kill and eat 48.1
million birds,
583.4 million mammals, respectively,
No.
and 8.9.
Wow.
No, yeah, actually million.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. Oh, dude.
I was joking.
In North America, billions.
Yeah,
Cats
right.
kill billions of birds and mice.
My host cats used to.
Yeah.
Dude,
fucking eat all that
my
shit, yeah.
cat used to, when I was growing up, he used to bring home little fucking treats all the time.
So that's it. So you heard it here first. Sick Boy Podcast hates cats, and if you are a cat lover, you better not be buying a ticket to our live show in Vancouver on September 21st.
Because we're anti-cat, and if you like cats, we're anti-you.
That's right. And if we find out you come to our fucking show and you're a cat lover and you have a cat, we're gonna out you, and we'll beat you up. We'll get the audience to beat you up. Right? So fucking stay at home, you fucking cat loving fucks. We don't want nothing to do with you. Don't buy our fucking tickets. The link is in the show notes. Don't even fucking click it. Don't buy a ticket. If you like dogs, come on out. Bring your fucking dog. All right? Bring the dog. Sneak it in.
Don't do that either.
Fucking do it. Bring a dog.
The establishments are not dog friendly.
They are dog friendly now, and I'll tell you right now, you bring your fucking cat, we're gonna fucking skin it.
Holy fuck.
All right. That's it, folks. Hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Sick Boy Podcast. If you want to support the podcast, first thing you can do is kill your cat. Second thing you do is leave a rating and review on Apple Podcast, and go to Spotify and leave a rating. And join us on Discord. I'm sure on Discord, a lot of our Discord folks, one of the prerequisites to be on Discord is no cats, no cat owners.
That's
So,
actually why we had to let Lauren go.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. And if you want to join Discord, you can come on over there and see and talk about all the love for dogs. So go on and do that. The show notes, you can find the Discord link there too.
The cat never ate my fucking slides.
And if you want to send us a letter and tell us about all the reasons why you won't be listening to the show anymore, which I couldn't for the life of me think of any reason why you would. Yeah. But I mean, if you want to, letters at sickboypodcast.com. And if you want to be on the show, go to sickboypodcast.com/contact. We have a box in there specifically that makes sure that screens for cat lovers. And sickboypodcast.com/contact. Fill out the form.
The views of the hosts on this show are explicitly their own and do not reflect the Sick Boy brand whatsoever. Thank you so much to our manager, Jeff Lonis, who has made us add this new disclaimer to the show, and to Rich O'Coin for the theme music.
That is it for this week.
I'm Brian.
I'm Taylor.
And I'm Jeremy, and this is Sick Boy.